The man built cities named after himself across 3 continents. He commanded armies of 50,000 soldiers. He revolutionized military strategy before reaching the age of 33. But he never played a tutorial. Alexander the Great sits before a glowing computer screen, his bronze armor catching the monitor's light. His finger hovers over the mouse, eyes narrowing at the unfamiliar interface. The game presents him with a simple choice: begin tutorial or skip to free play. Without hesitation, he clicks skip. Tutorials are for those who need guidance. He conquered the Persian Empire without a manual. He will conquer this digital realm the same way. The screen loads, a pristine, empty landscape appears before him. Rolling hills, a river cutting through fertile plains, forests rich with timber. It is not unlike the terrain he surveyed before founding Alexandria in Egypt. His instincts, honed through years of campaign, immediately begin analyzing the strategic advantages. The river provides water and trade routes. The forests offer resources. The hills could serve as defensive positions. He clicks to place his first building. The game offers options: residential zones, commercial districts, industrial areas. Alexander stares at these choices with growing confusion. Where is the barracks? Where is the armory? He scrolls through menus, searching for what he knows. Finally, he finds military structures buried in a submenu. A thin smile crosses his face. This, at least, makes sense. He places a military academy first, then another, and another. His city planning consists entirely of training grounds, barracks, and defensive walls. No homes yet, no markets, just the infrastructure of war. It is what he knows. It is what built his empire. The game protests immediately. Red warnings flash across the screen. Population, 0. Happiness, critically low. Economy, non-existent. Alexander leans back, arms crossed. Studying these complaints with the same expression he might have given to a subordinate officer questioning his tactics. The warnings persist. His digital citizens, or rather the lack of them, refuse to materialize in a city designed solely for conflict. He exhales slowly, the realization dawning. This is not a conquest. This is something else entirely, something that requires a different kind of strategy. Alexander begins again. This time, he places residential zones. Small houses appear, and with them, digital citizens. They move through his empty streets with purpose, seeking work, seeking commerce, seeking the things that make a city function. He watches them with the same intensity he once watched his phalanx formations. Each citizen is a unit. Each building is a strategic asset. The game is teaching him a language he never learned in Philip's court or on the battlefields of Asia. He adds commercial zones. Markets spring up. Trade begins to flow. His citizens grow happier. The city starts to generate income. For the first time in his military career, Alexander considers the word infrastructure not as a means to support an army, but as an end in itself. Roads connect his districts not to move troops faster, but to help merchants reach their destinations. Aqueducts bring water not to fortresses, but to homes. Yet old habits persist. When the game prompts him to establish diplomatic relations with a neighboring city-state, his first instinct is to check their military strength. Can they be conquered? Should they be conquered? The game offers 3 options: alliance, trade agreement, or declare war. His hand hovers over the war declaration. It is the choice he understands. It is the choice that shaped his legend. But he pauses. The game's advisor, a small animated figure in the corner of the screen, suggests that trade might prove more profitable than conquest. Alexander's jaw tightens. Profitable. The word feels foreign coming from a military advisor, even a digital one. Yet the numbers do not lie. The projected income from trade exceeds what he could plunder in war. He clicks on the trade agreement. His first diplomatic victory achieved not through force, but through negotiation. The irony is not lost on him. Had he possessed this patience with the Indian kingdoms, perhaps his men would not have mutinied at the Hyphasis River. Perhaps his empire would have stretched even further. The city grows. What began as a military outpost evolves into something resembling civilization. Temples appear, though Alexander places them more out of game necessity than religious conviction. Libraries and academies follow, because the game rewards education with faster research. He discovers that knowledge, in this digital realm, translates directly to power, not the power of the sword, but the power of innovation. A wonder becomes available for construction. The game presents several options, each offering unique bonuses. Alexander studies them with the focus he once applied to studying enemy formations. The Colossus increases trade income. The Great Library accelerates research. The Lighthouse improves naval commerce. He selects the Great Library without hesitation. Knowledge won him battles when brute force would have failed. Knowledge will win him this game. The construction begins. A timer counts down the years required to complete this wonder. Years. In real life, Alexander built cities in months. Here, even with maximum resource allocation, the Great Library demands patience. He watches the progress bar fill with barely contained impatience, his fingers drumming against the desk. Waiting was never his strength. While the wonder builds, disaster strikes. A notification appears. Barbarian invasion imminent. Alexander's posture straightens immediately. This, finally, is familiar territory. The game presents his military options. His standing army is small, focused more on police than warfare. He underestimated this threat, assumed his walls would be sufficient. It is a miscalculation that would have been catastrophic in real life. The barbarians arrive. They are not the sophisticated armies of Persia or the disciplined forces of Greece. They are raiders, opportunists, seeking to plunder his undefended commercial districts. Alexander watches them breach his outer defenses with clinical detachment. His military mind assesses the situation instantly. His walls are positioned poorly. His army is distributed inefficiently. His response time is too slow. He adapts, quickly recruiting additional units. He abandons the fixed defense positions and instead uses mobile strike forces to harass the invaders. It is not unlike the tactics he employed against the Scythians, turning their own mobility against them. The barbarians are faster than his heavy infantry, but he uses the city's layout itself as a weapon. Narrow streets become choke points. Dead ends become kill zones. The battle plays out in fast forward. The game's mechanics compressing what would be hours of conflict into minutes of strategic decisions. Alexander's forces take casualties but prevail. The barbarians retreat. Victory notifications flood the screen, but Alexander barely acknowledges them. He is already analyzing what went wrong. The invasion succeeded because he neglected military readiness in pursuit of economic growth. It is a lesson he learned once in Thebes, when the city rebelled during his consolidation of power. Overwhelming strength prevents conflict. Perceived weakness invites it. He rebuilds his military infrastructure, but this time with balance. Enough force to deter aggression, not so much that it drains his economy. The game rewards this equilibrium with a new notification. His approval rating has increased. His citizens feel safe, but not oppressed. It is a balance he never quite achieved in his actual empire, where garrison cities like Babylon simultaneously respected and resented his presence. Trade routes expand beyond his initial agreement. Caravans cross his territory carrying silk and spices, marble and grain. Each transaction generates revenue, filling his treasury faster than any battlefield plunder ever could. Alexander watches these numbers climb with a mix of satisfaction and something approaching regret. How much wealth did his historical campaigns cost him? How many resources were spent maintaining supply lines across thousands of miles? This game shows him an alternative history where commerce, not conquest, built prosperity. A citizen revolt erupts in his industrial district. The notification explains the cause: pollution, overwork, insufficient public services. Alexander's first instinct is to suppress the rebellion with military force. The game allows this option, but it also presents alternatives. Improve working conditions, increase wages, add recreational facilities. He hesitates. In life, he destroyed Thebes as a warning to other Greek cities considering rebellion. The strategy worked through terror, not resolution of grievances. He chooses reform. Additional parks appear in the industrial sector. Work hours decrease. Wages rise. The revolt dissipates not through violence, but through appeasement. The district's productivity actually increases, the happier workers producing more efficiently than their oppressed predecessors. It is counterintuitive to everything his father taught him about controlling conquered peoples. Yet the game's mechanics prove it effective. His city reaches a milestone: 10,000 citizens. The game celebrates this achievement with fanfare and bonuses. Alexander regards this number with perspective he rarely displayed in life. 10,000 people living, working, thriving in a city he built. Not conquered, built. How many cities in his actual empire could claim that? Alexandria in Egypt, perhaps. A handful of others. But most of his foundations were military colonies, garrison cities designed to project power rather than foster life. An economic crisis arrives without warning. A sudden trade embargo from a rival city-state cuts off his primary income source. Alexander's treasury, once overflowing, begins to drain rapidly. His expensive military, his ambitious construction projects, his generous public services all demand funding. Without trade revenue, his entire economy teeters on collapse. He could declare war on the city-state that imposed the embargo. His military is now strong enough. The conquest would be swift, but it would also be costly, and his weakened economy cannot sustain a prolonged campaign. Instead, he seeks alternative trade partners. He lowers tariffs to attract new merchants. He invests in domestic production to reduce reliance on imports. He pivots his entire economic strategy in response to changing circumstances. The crisis passes. His diversified economy proves more resilient than the previous trade-dependent model. Another lesson he never learned in life. When the Indian kings refused his advance, when his soldiers demanded to return home, he had no backup plan. His entire strategy depended on constant forward momentum. This game teaches him the value of adaptability, of multiple contingencies, of building systems that can withstand unexpected shocks. A wonder completes, not the great library he started earlier, but a different monument that became available through technological advancement. The Hanging Gardens. The game rewards him with a massive happiness boost across his entire population. His citizens celebrate. Festivals appear spontaneously in his streets. For a moment, watching these digital people rejoice, Alexander understands something he spent his entire life chasing but never quite grasped. Legacy is not just what you conquer, but what you create. His digital city now rivals anything in the ancient world. Its population exceeds 100,000. Its culture spreads to neighboring regions through sheer influence rather than military force. Other city-states seek alliances not from fear, but from admiration. The game labels his civilization as legendary in multiple categories: military, economic, cultural, scientific. But cracks appear. His expansion has been aggressive, if not military. He absorbed smaller settlements through cultural dominance, economic pressure, diplomatic maneuvering. These newly integrated populations are not entirely happy. They remember their independence. Some districts show declining loyalty. The game warns of potential succession crises If he does not address these tensions, Alexander faces a choice he never confronted in reality: how to maintain an empire after the conquest ends. His historical solution was to keep conquering, to constantly push forward, so that no region had time to contemplate rebellion. But this game has borders, limitations, mechanics that prevent infinite expansion. He must govern what he has built, not constantly acquire more. He implements policies designed to integrate his diverse population, cultural centers that celebrate local traditions while promoting his overarching vision, economic programs that ensure prosperity reaches even the peripheral districts, administrative reforms that give local leaders more autonomy within his overall framework. It is the kind of nuanced governance his generals attempted after his death, the kind he never lived long enough to implement himself. A message appears from the game itself: victory conditions met. He has achieved every major objective. His city stands as a testament to strategic brilliance adapted to peacetime pursuits. But the game offers to continue, to see how long he can maintain this achievement. Alexander clicks to continue without hesitation. In life, he died still seeking new horizons to conquer. Here, at least, he can see what comes after. Turns pass. Seasons change in accelerated time. His city evolves from his direct intervention into something with its own momentum. Citizens go about their lives. Markets function. Culture flourishes. The military remains strong but sees no action. It is peaceful in a way Alexander's actual empire never was. It is also, he realizes, with something approaching discomfort, more stable. An achievement unlocks Eternal City. The game recognizes his settlement as one that will endure beyond his leadership. It is the immortality he sought through conquest, achieved instead through construction. The notification lingers on the screen, and for a long moment, Alexander simply stares at it. He finally leans back from the computer, eyes tired from the glowing screen, but mind racing with possibilities. In hours, this game taught him what decades of military campaigns never could: that building is harder than conquering, that maintaining is more challenging than acquiring, that peace requires more strategy than war. The digital city continues without his input, its systems running automatically, its citizens living their simulated lives. It is a legacy that will outlast the game session, saved in data, ready to be resumed. It is more than Alexander the Great ever truly left behind. His empire fragmented within years of his death, his generals carving up territories they could not hold together. But this city, this digital Alexandria, will remain exactly as he built it until someone chooses to delete it. The irony is not lost on him. The greatest conqueror in history, finally building something that might actually last.